Okay, welcome back to Box Bread. Let's take a look at the fight that's happening this weekend. It's for the WBC World Middleweight title. It sees the current champion, Sergio Martinez, going up against his challenger, Martin Murray, from the UK. Now this fight is in Argentina, so Martin Murray is going to be doing something that Matthew Macklin and Darren Barker didn't do. He's actually going into this guy's backyard. So let's take a look at the fighters. Sergio Martinez record, 50 victories, just the 2 losses with 2 draws, around 51% KO ratio. Martin Murray is unbeaten. He's got 25 victories to his name with no losses and the 1 draw, which was a couple of fights ago against Felix Sturm, around 42% with a KO ratio. So let's take a brief look at the challenger Martin Murray. Martin Murray's got a very tight European style in my opinion, and by that I mean he's got a very tight high guard, he covers up his head and his body very well, so for that reason he's quite difficult to get to. He works off a very good sound technical base, keeps everything tight, and he works off the base of a jab to set up his other punches. He's got a very decent jab, Martin Murray, something he's going to have to employ to the best of his ability in this fight to not only set up his punches, but also to buy himself some time with a very unorthodox and tricky Sergio Martinez. Now, he had a very close fight with Felix Sturm, but I feel that fight was really close because both of those guys were really similar in the ring, I felt. Both of those guys had that tight high guard, they were both working off jabs. It was like a battle of the jabs, and they were both trying to punch through each other's guard. There wasn't much lateral movement, it's very sort of forwards and backwards, and for that reason I feel both guys were both similar, and I feel that that's why it was a close fight essentially. In this fight Murray is going up against a completely different animal in Sergio Martinez. The problem for Murray in this fight for me, and the reason I don't think he'll win, and the reason I think he'll get into trouble in this fight, is because he stands very square with the upper body. Now, I prefer fighters who close down and reduce the target area, so they're sort of sideways on. And if you look at the great defensive fighters, they are, in general, they take a very sideways stance. They often employ the left shoulder or the right shoulder if they're southpaws, which Martinez is by coincidence. And they use that to sort of as a front mechanism for frontal defence. Now, Murray's not like this. He's very much like a Joe Gallagher fighter in a way. He is very square on. So he stands more like this than like this. So automatically you can see, here's the target area, and he widens it, okay? It's okay to go up against a guy like Felix Sturm, like that, and to lesser opposition like that, because they're not able to exploit this weakness, which is a weakness in my opinion, it's just my preference with boxers. You may see it differently, but that's the way I see it. A similar fighter like Sturm, who can't exploit it, but here, Murray's going to be going up against a guy who will have a field day, in my opinion. Looking at Martinez now, we know he's very fluent in the ring, he's extremely mobile, he has power, we've seen that in a few fights, and he has power from the 1st to the 12th round. He can attack you the same way in the 12th round as he did in the 1st, and a lot of guys are finding it difficult to live with him towards the end of the fight and make the distance with him because of that. We saw that with Macklin and Barker. He has a good range of shots, he'll go to the body and up top. He's very unorthodox, he's a southpaw, he's tricky, he'll come at you from different angles, and those angles is the reason why I think giving him a target like this, rather than like this, is a recipe for disaster, because I think this opens up both sides of the body, and Martinez wants both sides of that body to aim at. He's also got the home advantage, it's going to be a very hostile crowd against Martin Murray and for Martinez. Martinez hasn't fought in Argentina for a little bit now, so I think he's going to really be looking to put on a show for them and really close this show. Of course, there will be people who say, well, he went the distance with Chavez Jr., who hurt him in the last round. But you've got to understand, as I mentioned before, in my opinion, Chavez Jr. shouldn't even be fighting at middleweight. I know people disagree with me over this, and this may be controversial to some, but I will not back down. I think it's ridiculous that Chavez Jr. is allowed to fight at that weight. He's coming in at more towards a light heavyweight weight. And it's okay to look at it from a distance and say that's fine and admire the guy for losing that weight. But what if it was your son going in the ring with a guy who was going to be 20 pounds heavier than him on fight night? It's just not safe for the sport of boxing. Surely you can see that. So, let's not talk about that now, we're talking about this fight. I think Martinez is going to win this fight by late stoppage. I'm going for stoppage in round 11 for Sergio Martinez. I think that Murray may be competitive in the first half of the fight, because I think, like I said, he's a very good boxer. He makes things difficult for his opponents, and he's got a tight guard, and he covers himself up very well. And take nothing away from Martin Murray here. I will be supporting him. I hope he does a good job and gives a really good account of himself in this fight. And I wish him all the best, because he's really shown a lot of guts and courage to go over to Argentina for this and to put everything on the line. But I just think Martinez will have too much for him, as he did for Barker and Macklin, and I'm expecting Martinez to finish it late on, where the power will just tell as the fight goes on. Murray could last the distance. There's no he could last the distance. He has the ability to last the distance, and he hasn't been beaten before. So this is a bit, is a bit of a gamble to say that he's going to get stopped for the first time in his career. But I think Martinez is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, and I really do think that he will prove that in this fight again by stopping Martin Murray, who is a very good boxer. So thanks for listening, guys. They're my thoughts on the fight. Please let me know what you guys think. Enjoy the fight on the weekend. This is Boxpred, and I'm out.